Put on a coat.
You put on a coat, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say that when I saw you earlier on, I couldn't find you on the screen. I thought you had light hair, light dress, white background. I just lost you. So
It's just
now
blending in, I guess.
that's right. You blended in. So, yeah. Uh, how's the weather out there? Is it raining or? We didn't.
All I know is I can't hear the wind, which makes me happy. Whenever it's really windy, I worry about the big cedars in my property, and I'm always
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, they've been there for a long time. These big
Have you taken into account the way the wind blows?
oh,
That's what matters at the end of the day, right? The predominant wind. So if it falls, where it's gonna go?
there's a slight lean to the road, which as long as no one's driving by, it's obviously good. But I worry about
What's your problem?
I just worry.
Just kidding. That's horrible. Yeah. I know. I worry with the big tree here in my house too. I brought the arborist. They said that at least Douglas fir has a nice, spread. But I worry because someone already topped, and you don't want to mess up with the trees too much.
Our trees have been topped, and then when we built our house, it's a long story, but there was massive root damage. We try to save them. And so they're not the healthiest. David and I have just.
Yeah, I'm showing 5:30 on my screen, folks. Who else do we have with us tonight? Okay. So Councillor Kroll. Okay, so it is 5:30. I'd like to welcome everybody to the public hearing for Tuesday, November 17th, 2020. And this public hearing is being held electronically as authorized by Ministerial Order number M192, Local Government Meetings and Bylaw Process COVID-19 Order number 3. It is being held to consider the official community plan amendment bylaw number 98528 2020 and zoning amendment bylaw number 106559 to introduce the mixed use gateway land use designation to the town's official community plan and mixed use gateway zone 1 to the zoning bylaw. The bylaws will redesignate and rezone 622 Huff Road, 1161 Sunshine Coast Highway to allow for a veterinary hospital. I acknowledge that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Squamish Nation. I will now introduce council members who are present this evening. Councillor Kroll, Councillor Ladwig, and Councillor D'Andrade. Staff members also present this evening are our corporate officer, Lindsay Grist, our director of planning. I gotta turn my page. Leslie Ann Stats, and our director of infrastructure. No, you don't see the director of infrastructure services. Our planner, Katie Thomas, and recording secretary, Lori Mossman. Lori, are you there? Okay. I am Mayor Bill Beamish and chair of this evening's proceedings. All persons who believe their interests are affected by the proposed bylaws shall be given an opportunity to be heard on the matters contained in the proposed bylaws or to submit their written submissions to the corporate officer before tonight's hearing is adjourned. Under the Local Government Act, the chair of a public hearing is entitled to make procedural rules for the conduct of the public hearing. For this public hearing, we will use the following rules. Persons wishing to speak during the public hearing are invited to use the raise hand function by clicking on the hand icon found at the bottom of your screen. The meeting administrator will then add you to the speakers list, and you will be able to unmute and turn your video on when it's time to speak. Please identify yourself by clearly stating your name and residential address before beginning to address council. Speakers are allowed up to 5 minutes to make their presentation and may not transfer all or part of their allotted time to another speaker. Members of council are present to hear your submissions and not to answer questions or debate the merits of the bylaw under consideration. Council members may ask for clarification from members of the public after their submissions, and I would ask them to do that through me as well. Persons wishing to speak a second time may do so only after all other persons wishing to speak have been provided the opportunity to speak for a first time. Persons speaking for a second time will be limited to 3 minutes. A written submission may be submitted via email to the clerk@gibsons.ca in lieu of speaking, provided it is received prior to the close of the public hearing. All written submissions will be circulated to council and will become part of the public record. I will now introduce Planner Katie Thomas, who will introduce the proposed official community plan amendment bylaw and zoning amendment bylaw. Katie Thomas, over to you.
Thank you, Mayor Beamish. The property was originally in the SCRD's electoral area E, or Elphinstone area, and was brought into the town of Gibson's municipal boundaries on December the 10th, 2009, sorry. The zoning has not been amended since the boundary extension and is still currently zoned SCRD Commercial 5. The property has a variety of uses, a mix of commercial and industrial. In 2015, the town's OCP was updated, which changed the land use designation from Elphinstone's commercial industrial mixed use to the town's mixed use in commercial. This OCP update removed the existing industrial uses. The property owner has a tenant ready to lease the vacant commercial unit to be used as a veterinary hospital. A veterinary hospital is not permitted under the existing zoning, and therefore a rezoning has been applied for. While recognizing that the uses on the property will ultimately remain the same, except for the new use, the veterinary hospital, a new zone has been created called the Mixed Use Gateway Zone 1, MU1, which implements the original intent of this gateway area to allow for a mix of commercial and industrial uses, as well as apartments and townhouses, either above or behind the commercial and industrial uses on the street front. The new zone has a maximum residential base density of 3 dwelling units and a maximum floor space ratio of 1 for apartment or townhouse use, subject to a community amenity contribution based on an economic analysis. The OCP amendment would change the land use designation from an existing commercial and residential only designation called mixed use commercial to a new designation, mixed use gateway, which is intended to permit a wide range of compatible commercial, multifamily residential, and light industrial uses as a gateway to the Upper Gibsons mixed use commercial area. The bylaws were given first and second readings on November 3rd, 2020. The resolution to hold a public hearing today was adopted by Council on November the 3rd, 2020, and a notice of public hearing was advertised in the Coast Reporter on November the 6th and 13th, 2020. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Katie. I will now ask the corporate officer, Lindsay Grist, to note and present any written submissions received to date regarding the proposed official community plan and zoning amendment bylaws.
Thank you, Mayor Beamish. There were no written submissions received relating to the proposed bylaw amendments. As noted, individuals may choose to forward written submissions via email to clerk@gibsons.ca up to close of the hearing. Those submissions will be collated at adjournment and circulated to council for consideration.
Thank you, corporate officer. We will now seek public input. Is there anyone wishing to speak for or against the proposed official community plan or zoning amendment bylaws?
I'm not seeing any raised hands, Mr. Mayor. Once again, for those in attendance, I'll just say if you would like to speak, please use the raise the hand feature located at the bottom of your screen.
Okay.
I'm not seeing any.
And thank you. I'll ask for a second time. Is there anybody wishing to speak for or against the proposed official community bylaw or zoning amendment bylaws?
There are no raised hands, Mr. Mayor.
And for the third and final time, is there anyone wishing to speak for or against the proposed official community plan or zoning amendment bylaws?
And no raised hands, Mr. Mayor.
I will now ask the corporate officer, Lindsay Grist, to note and present any written submissions received during this public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor Beamish. There were no additional written submissions received during this public hearing.
Being no further input, I adjourn this public hearing. Thank you for your attendance. Thank you.